Hi, I'm Marilyn and I'm here in my kitchen, and today we're going to learn a little bit about making a non-dairy milk. What I have prepared for you today is a hemp seed milk, which is one that might not be as common as one that you've heard of before, like almond milk and soy milk and coconut milk. It's equally as delicious, and one of the things I like about hemp seeds is that they're really powerhouses of nutrition. Lots of protein, a wonderful balance of omega-6s to omega-3s, actually almost a perfect balance, and you get all the protein you need, and it's very easily digested. I love hemp seeds on salads. I like a hemp seed tapuli, and I love hemp seed milk. Hemp seeds look like this, the way we get them here in the U.S. They're rarely whole. I have not seen them whole sold here. You get them shelled or cracked, or you can call them also hemp hearts. I've seen them described that way. So I'm only making a small amount, and typically the ratio that we use is 3 parts water, 1 part nut or seed. So for example, if you were to make 3 cups of water, you would use 1 cup of seed, and that would make about 3.5 cups of nut milk or seed milk. I'm using 1 cup of water today, and I'm going to use 1/3 of a cup of seed. So I'm going to put my 1 cup in here, and I'm using my NutriBullet for this, which is great for small quantities. I have a Vitamix as well. I love that when I'm making large quantities, but this is just to demonstrate and to enjoy right now. Okay, and I'm going to put in 1/3 of a cup of hemp seeds. I'm going to add to that a little bit of sweetener. I have some maple syrup. I'm in Vermont after all, and this is the season when the sap is running, so we'll get some very fresh maple syrup. This is last year's batch. So I'm going to use a tablespoon for a cup, so you would adjust that accordingly, and you can always use more or less depending on what your taste is. I also have in here a little bit of vanilla, just a small amount. I used 1/3 of a teaspoon of vanilla that was without any alcohol. If you're going to use the kind that has the alcohol, the vanilla extract, then you would use half that, 1/6 to a cup. And I'm also going to add, just because this gives it a very creamy texture, I'm going to add some sunflower lecithin. Lecithin is an emulsifier, so it helps to keep things blended. It also gives a nice creamy texture. I prefer not to use soy lecithin. If you do choose to use soy, make sure it's non-GMO, because most soy is genetically modified. Okay, so I have my ingredients in here. We just flip this right over and put it on the base and push it down. Now, many people will drink the hemp seed milk just like this, and it's really quite good. And I'm going to just try it just like this, and I'm actually going to show it to you. Well, you can see in here, there's little flecks of green in it, so if you're looking for something that looks pretty, it doesn't look quite as pretty when the flecks of green are in it. Tastes amazing, has a nutty flavor, it's really quite delicious. But some people do like to strain their nut milk or their seed milk. So I'm going to use what's called a nut milk bag. You actually can use, I know some people who use paint strainer bags. You get them in the hardware store. Nut milk bag is kind of a specialty item. You'd have to look for it online. I have not seen it in stores locally. So I'm pouring this into this nut milk bag, which is simply a very fine mesh bag. And I actually turned it inside out, so the seam allowance is showing on the outside, because it then will keep it from getting stuck inside that seam allowance. And now I'm going to just squeeze. Now I want to make sure the top is pretty tight. There is a drawstring on this, but I usually just twist it and kind of wring it through. Something kids might like to do. You know, kids like to play with food. They like to get their hands into it, so encourage that, because the more they're engaged in preparing food, oh, look at that, I got it all up my arm, the more they're going to want to eat it. So I like to engage children in preparing food. It's the best way to get them to be a good proponent of delicious, healthy living and healthy food. The pulp that's remaining in here is edible. You can save it. I typically dehydrate it. If I don't have time to dehydrate it, I stick it in the freezer in a plastic bag, so I'll have it for later to dehydrate. And then what you can do is you can grind it up in your blender and use it as a flour and add it to things. Either way, you can have this without straining it or straining it, but this is a delicious milk to use as an alternative to dairy. I hope to see you again soon. The benefits of hemp are astounding. Do a little research on it. You can find out more online. I don't have time to share all that with you right now, but I appreciate your time and see you again soon.